Hello everybody, I'm Khumoyunmirzo Kholmakhamatov from EVEREST Integro, IELTS 8.5 holder. The purpose of this video is to give you tips and guidance on getting 8, 8.5 and even that perfect 9 in listening. Let's get started. Videoni kontenti yanada tushunarli bo'lishi uchun asosan o'zbek tilida gapiraman. Boshlashdan oldin listening marafonimiz haqida qisqacha ma'lumot berib o'tib ketsam, bu safar listening bo'yicha 3 ta video chiqaramiz. Ya'ni 3 ta video darsliklar bo'ladi. Birinchi, ya'ni hozir ko'rib turgan videoyingizda listeningdagi savol turlari haqida gaplashamiz va har bitta savol turini tahlili va amaliyot, ya'ni ingliz tilida aytadigan bo'lsak, practice ham bo'lib o'tadi. Undan keyingi ikkinchi videoda listeningga tayyorlanish uchun eng samarali usullar va mashqlar haqida gaplashamiz va oxirgi 3-videoyimizda do's and don'ts, ya'ni o'zbek tilida aytadigan bo'lsak, siz qilishingiz kerak bo'lgan va qilmasligingiz kerak bo'lgan narsalar haqida so'z olib boramiz. Boshladik. Ya'ni birinchi darsimiz listening savol turlari. Demak, birinchi darsimizda listening savol turlari haqida umumiy ma'lumot berib o'tib ketamiz. Listeningda bilasiz 40 ta savol bo'ladi. Lekin o'sha 40 ta savollarning hammasi ham bir xil question type, ya'ni savol turi bo'lmaydi. 40 ta savol hammasi har xil savollar tushadi. Ular qanaqa savollar? Asosan birinchi kategoriyasi completion questions, ya'ni tushib qolgan so'zlarni to'ldirib chiqish bo'ladi. Ularga qaysi savol turlari kiradi? Birinchidan section 1 da eng ko'p uchraydigani bu note completion. Note completion dan keyin sentence completion, summary completion va kamdan kam tushadigan bo'lsa ham summary completion degan savol turlari ham bor. Orada table completion ham uchrab turishi mumkin. Demak, completion questionlarning asosiy mohiyati nimadan iborat? Sizga gaplar berilgan bo'ladi va o'sha gaplarning ichidan tushib qolgan so'zlarni siz listeningdan eshitib to'g'ri javobni aniqlab topishingiz kerak bo'ladi. Lekin bu eshitilganichalik oson emas. 1-2 hisobga olishimiz kerak bo'lgan narsalar ham bor. Ular nima? Birinchidan word limit. Listening tushib qolgan so'zni topish uchun siz shunchaki eshitgan so'zingizni tavakkaliga yozib keta olmaysiz. Ya'ni bu diktant emas. Eshitgan so'zingizni tushib qolgan joyiga tavakkaliga 3 ta so'z, 10 ta so'z qilib yozib ketish mumkin emas. O'zlari sizdan so'rab qo'ygan bo'ladi. Misol uchun write no more than 1 words or maybe write no more than 2 words. Birinchi bo'lib word limitdan boshlaymiz. Word limitda hozir aytganimdek shart beriladi, ya'ni write no more than 1 words. Tushadi asosan section 1 da. Bu nima degani? Sizning javobingiz bitta so'zdan oshib ketishi kerak emas. Ba'zan write no more than 2 words degan shart ham tushishi mumkin. Bu nima degani? Bu degani sizning javobingiz ikkita so'zdan oshib ketishi mumkin emas. Lekin ikkita so'zdan oshib ketishi mumkin emas degani har doim ikkita so'z yozishingiz kerak degani emas. Ba'zida bitta so'z ham bo'ladi, ba'zida ikkita so'z ham yozishingizga to'g'ri keladi. Lekin 3 ta so'z yozadigan bo'lsangiz, bu xato hisoblanadi. Chunki shart sizdan ikkita so'zdan oshib ketmasin yoki ba'zida bitta so'zdan oshib ketmasin deb so'raydi. Demak, listening eshitishdan oldin, to'g'ri javoblarni topishdan oldin hisobga olishimiz kerak bo'lgan birinchi narsa word limits. Word limitda ham juda ham hushyor bo'lishimiz kerak. Ba'zida write no more than 1 word and or a number degan joy bo'ladi. Aynan o'sha and or. Bu nimani anglatadi? Shunaqangi holat bo'lishi mumkin. Bitta so'z va bitta raqam ikkalasi bitta javobga kelib qolishi mumkin. Va bu ingliz tilida aytadigan bo'lsak acceptable, ya'ni yozsa bo'ladigan hisoblanadi. Siz qo'rqmasdan bitta so'z, bitta raqam alohida yozsangiz bo'ladi. Va ular alohida hisoblanadi. Ya'ni bitta so'z, alohida bitta raqam oshib ketmasa bo'ldi. Demak, word limitdan tashqari hisobga olishimiz kerak bo'lgan narsalar hali bor, bir nechta va ulardan bittasi repetition mistake. Listening audio boshlanishidan oldin biz savollarni o'qib chiqishimiz kerakligi haqida hali menimcha ko'p tavsiyalar eshitgansiz. Har xil YouTube videolarida, Telegram kanallar, IELTS instruktoringiz bu narsani tushuntirgan bo'lishi mumkin. Xullas, bu juda ham ko'p uchraydigan maslahatlardan bittasi. Listening boshlanishidan oldin savollarni ko'rib chiq deyshadi. Lekin o'sha ko'rib chiqish davomida ham va listening boshlanganda audioni eshitish davomida ham yana hushyor bo'lishimiz kerak va hisobga olishimiz kerak bo'lgan narsadan bittasi hozir aytganimdek bu repetition mistake. Ya'ni ko'pchilik kandidatlarni qiladigan asosiy bitta xatosi bor. U kontekstda berilgan so'zni yo aynan o'shani o'zini yo uni sinonimini to'g'ri javobga yozib qo'yishadi. Bu narsani tahlil qilamiz bugun birga. Va bugungi asosiy materialimiz Cambridge IELTS 15, IELTS 15 kitobi bo'ladi. Ekraningizda ko'rishingiz mumkin va ularni birga tahlil qilamiz. Har bitta holatni tushuntirganimdan so'ng. Xullas, aynan o'sha kontekstda berilgan so'zni iloji boricha to'g'ri javob sifatida yozib qo'ymaslikka harakat qiling. Chunki kontekstda berildimi, demak sizga, ya'ni sizdan kontekstda berilgan so'zdan tashqari boshqa so'z qo'yish talab qilinyapti. Shu narsani ham hisobga olaylik. So'zni, ya'ni to'g'ri javobni yozish paytida yana bir juda muhim hisoblanadigan narsa bu spelling. Ya'ni harflarni to'g'ri yozishingiz. Listening qilayotganingizda to'g'ri javobni topasiz. To'g'ri javobni to'g'ri eshitganingizdan keyin uni yozish paytida xato qildingizmi, demak shuncha mehnatingizni qo'pol qilib aytadigan bo'lsak, uval qilgan bo'lasiz. Bir pul. Nega? Misol uchun deylik, to'g'ri javobni topdingiz. Accommodation so'zi bo'ldi. Accommodation so'zi bilasiz, ikkita C, ikkita M so'zi bilan yoziladi, harflar bilan yoziladi. Tasavvur qiling, accommodation so'zini bir dona C yoki bir dona M harfi bilan yozib qo'ydingiz. Bu degani o'sha sizning javobingiz qabul qilinmaydi. Ya'ni sizni javobingizni tekshirayotganda ular ya'ni o'zimizni backgrounddan kelib chiqib aytadigan bo'lsak, o'zbekchilikka yo'l qo'ymaydi ular. Ya'ni mayli, endi topdi-ku bu to'g'ri javobini. Muhim eshitibdi-ku, bitta xato qilgan bo'lsa ham, bitta harf ekan-u demaydi. Bittada xato hisoblaydi va sizdan balingiz kuyadi. Shu tufayli ham spellingni juda ham hushyor bo'lishimiz kerak. Har bitta yozayotgan so'zingizni shoshilmasdan har bitta harfini tekshirib chiqing. Bundan tashqari, asosan so'z yozilishida final s, ya'ni so'zni oxirigidagi s harfida ko'pincha adashishadi. Ya'ni birlik va ko'plik asovchi qo'shimcha. Deylik, to'g'ri javob horse yoki car bo'ladigan bo'lsa, uni ba'zida ko'pincha horses yoki cars ko'plikda yozib qo'yishadi. Kalitda to'g'ri javobda birlik turgan bo'ladi yoki teskarisi. Kalitda to'g'ri javobda ko'plik turgan bo'lsa, kandidatlar birlik, ya'ni singularda yozib qo'yishi mumkin. Xo'p, buni qaysi birini yozish kerak? Ko'pchilikni qiynaydigan savol shu. Birlikda yozaymi yoki ko'plikda yozaymi degan savol qiynaydi. Buni javobi ikki xil bo'ladi. Birinchidan, siz yozma kontekstni, savol kontekstini hisobga oling. Grammatika bo'yicha qaysi biri to'g'ri keladi? Ba'zida a artikli berilgan bo'lsa ham, grammatikadan bilamiz, a artiklidan keyin singular noun kelish kerak. Shuni hisobga olmasdan plural, ya'ni ko'plik yozib qo'yadigan kandidatlar bor. Demak, birinchidan grammatikani hisobga olaylik. Ikkinchidan bir oltin qoida deymizmi? Oltin qoidani eslab qoling. Audio nima desa, shuni yozishimiz kerak. Ya'ni audio toshbaqa uchadi dedimi? Bo'ldi, biz ha uchadi deyishimiz kerak. Audiodan eshitib, qanday eshitgan bo'lsak, xuddi shuni yozib qo'yishimiz kerak. Endi repetition mistake-dan tashqari, spelling mistake-dan tashqari va word limit-dan tashqari hisobga olishimiz kerak bo'lgan narsa, ya'ni note completion va boshqa completion turlarida bizni listeningimizni oshirishga yordam beradigan narsalar bu nima? Bu guesswork. Guesswork, which means that you have to guess at least the form of the answer. Javobni shaklini bilib olishingiz kerak siz. Grammatikasini hech bo'lmaganda. Tushib qolgan so'z grammatikasi nima? Deylik, ma'lum bir sifatdan keyin, adjektivdan keyin ma'lum bir so'z tushib qolgan bo'lsa, katta ehtimol bilan u noun bo'ladi. Yoki ma'lum bir savolda so'raydi. Something is cold deydi-da. Cold so'zidan keyin chiziq, ya'ni tushib qolgan so'z uchun maxsus joy ajratilgan bo'ladi. Demak, siz atoqli javob topishingiz kerak. Скорее всего, ya'ni katta ehtimol bilan u spell qilib beriladi, ya'ni harfma-harf aytib beriladi. Shu narsaga ham tayyor turishimiz kerak. Mana shu aytib o'tgan narsalarimiz hamma completion questionlar uchun qo'llasa bo'ladigan narsalar va hisobga olishimiz kerak bo'lgan narsalar. Mana endi keyingi savol turlari haqida gap olib borishdan oldin bir praktika qilib ko'ramiz. Cambridge 15 kitobini birinchitasini, birinchi part qismini hozir siz bilan birga ishlab ko'ramiz. Birga tahlil qilamiz. Lekin video pauzaga qo'yilgandan keyin uni praktikasi audiosi boshlanadi. Siz listening mashqini bajarib ko'rasiz. Cambridge IELTS 15 kitobi birinchi savoldan 4-savolgacha Bu savol turining nomi table completion. Jadvalda berilgan ma'lumot ichidagi ma'lum bir so'zlar tushib qolgan. Aynan o'sha so'zlarni biz siz bilan topib chiqishimiz kerak. Ya'ni birinchi savolni ko'rishda hisobga olishimiz kerak bo'lgan narsa bu word limit. Aytib o'tganimdek write one word only for each answer deb yozilgan. Ya'ni har bitta so'z uchun, javobimiz uchun bir dona so'zdan foydalanishimiz kerak. Nima deb yozilgan? Birga ko'rib chiqamiz. Festival information. Date sanasi 17-chi, 18-chi va 19-20 va alohida 20 sanalarda bo'lib o'tadigan festivallar haqida ma'lumot berilyapti. Va qanday eventlar, ya'ni qanday hodisalar bo'lib o'tar ekan. 17-sanada konsert va uni detallari nima haqida? Performers from Canada, kanadalik performerlar kelar ekan. 18-da ballet kelar ekan va uni detallari quyidagicha. Company called. Demak, kompaniyani nomi kelish kerak. Spellingga tayyor turing. Spelling jarayonida, spelling audioda boshlangan payti iloji boricha qotib qolmaslikka harakat qiling. Ba'zida bo'ladi shunday holatlar, audio boshlanadi, audio aytadi, qo'l yozmay qo'yadi. Iloji boricha ko'proq praktika qilib, bu yomon odatdan qutuling. Qotib qolmang. 19-20 sanalarni afternoon, ya'ni peshindan keyingi vaqtida bir play bo'lib o'tar ekan. Qanday play ekan u? Type of play. A comedy called Jemima. Endi javobni oldindan predict qilishimiz kerak. Has had a good something. Demak, a artikli good, ya'ni adjective va undan keyin keladigan so'z katta ehtimol bilan noun bo'ladi. Grammatikasidan tashqari siz javobni o'zini ham guess, ya'ni taxmin qilishga harakat qiling. Kompaniya, ya'ni o'sha play qanday yaxshi nimaga ega bo'lishi mumkin? Has had a good what? Maybe reputation. Maybe script. Ssenariy degani. Shu narsani hisobga oling. Lekin yana bir narsada juda ham hushyor bo'ling. Har doim siz guess qilgan so'zlar to'g'ri javob bo'lib uchramaydi. Asosan to'g'ri javoblarni audioning ichidan olamiz. Endi 20-sanani kechki paytida qanday event bo'ladi? A something nimadir show. Qandaydir show bo'lar ekan. Demak, bu yerda tushib qolgan so'z katta ehtimol bilan yoki noun yoki adjective. Va qanday show bo'lishi mumkin? Buni eshitib turib topasiz. Show is called. 4-savolda show is called degan savol kelyapti. Ya'ni buni ham atoqli ot keladi. Uni ham eshitib turib, spellingi tayyor turib topib olasiz. 5-savoldan 10-savolgacha ham xuddi shu prinsipda, xuddi shu usulda davom etib ketishimiz kerak. Word limit bitta so'z, tushib qolgan so'zlarni topishingiz kerak. Oldindan savollarni o'qing, guesswork qiling, grammatikasini hisobga oling va diqqat bilan eshitib tushib qolgan so'zlarni toping va javoblarni yozish paytida yana qaytaraman, repetition mistake yo'l qo'ymang. Ya'ni kontekstda berilgan so'zlarni qaytadan siz to'g'ri javob sifatida yozib qo'ymang. Mana endi praktika qilamiz.
Part 1. You will hear a woman calling a tourist information office to ask about a festival. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good morning. You're through to the Tourist Information Office. Tim speaking. How can I help you?
Oh, hello. Could you give me some information about next month's festival, please? My family and I will be staying in the town that week.
Of course. Well, it starts with a concert on the afternoon of the 17th.
Oh, I heard about that. The orchestra and singers come from the USA, don't they?
They're from Canada. They're very popular over there. They're going to perform a number of well-known pieces that will appeal to children as well as adults.
That sounds good. My whole family are interested in music.
The next day, the 18th, there's a performance by a ballet company called Eustatis.
Sorry?
The name is spelled E-U-S-T-A-T-I-S. They appeared in last year's festival and went down very well. Again, their program is designed for all ages.
Good. I expect we'll go to that. I hope there's going to be a play during the festival. A comedy, ideally.
You're in luck. On the 19th and 20th, a local amateur group are performing one written by a member of the group. It's called Jemima. That'll be on in the town hall. They've already performed it 2 or 3 times. I haven't seen it myself, but the review in the local paper was very good.
And is it suitable for children?
Yes. In fact, it's aimed more at children than at adults. So both performances are in the afternoon.
And what about dance? Will there be any performances?
Yes, also on the 20th, but in the evening. A professional company is putting on a show of modern pieces with electronic music by young composers.
Uh-huh.
The show is about how people communicate, or fail to communicate with each other, so it's got the rather strange name, chat.
I suppose that's because that's something we do both face-to-face and online.
That's right.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Now, there are also some workshops and other activities. They'll all take place at least once every day, so everyone who wants to take part will have a chance.
Good. We're particularly interested in cookery. You don't happen to have a cookery workshop, do you?
We certainly do. It's going to focus on how to make food part of a healthy lifestyle. And it'll show that even sweet things like cakes can contain much less sugar than they usually do.
That might be worth going to. We're trying to encourage our children to cook.
Another workshop is just for children, and that's on creating posters to reflect the history of the town. The aim is to make children aware of how both the town and people's lives have changed over the centuries. The results will be exhibited in the community centre. Then, the other workshop is in toy making, and that's for adults only.
Oh, why's that?
Because it involves carpentry. Participants will be making toys out of wood, so there'll be a lot of sharp chisels and other tools around.
It makes sense to keep children away from it.
Exactly. Now, let me tell you about some of the outdoor activities. There'll be supervised wild swimming.
Wild swimming? What's that?
It just means swimming in natural waters, rather than a swimming pool.
Oh, okay. In a lake, for instance.
Yes. There's a beautiful one just outside the town, and that'll be the venue for the swimming. There'll be lifeguards on duty, so it's suitable for all ages. And finally, there'll be a walk in some nearby woods every day. The leader is an expert on insects. He'll show some that live in the woods and how important they are for the environment. So there are going to be all sorts of different things to do during the festival.
There certainly are.
If you'd like to read about how the preparations for the festival are going, the festival organizer is keeping a blog. Just search online for the festival website, and you'll find it.
Well, thank you very much for all the information.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That is the end of part 1.
Completion savol turlari haqida gaplashdik. Mana endi boshqa savol turi, ko'pchiligimizni og'riqli nuqtamiz, multiple choice savoli haqida gaplashamiz. Multiple choice o'zining nomi aytib turganidek, bu bir nechta tanlovlik, ya'ni bir nechta variantlik savollar. Sodda qilib aytadigan bo'lsak, test. Bir dona savol bo'ladi. A, B, C. 3 ta variantlarning ichidan bittasi to'g'ri javob bo'ladi. Aynan nega bu savol turi ko'pchilik uchun qiyin tuyuladi? Chunki audioda A variant haqida ham gap ketadi, B va C variantlar ham aytib o'tiladi. Faqat ularni ikkitasi noto'g'ri javob sifatida aytiladi va faqatgina bir donasi to'g'ri javob bo'ladi. Aynan o'sha 3 ta variantning ichidan biz bitta to'g'ri javobni topishimiz kerak. Bu narsani qanday qilib osonroq bajarsak bo'ladi? Ko'pchiligimiz aynan multiple choice multiple choice da qiynalamiz. Lekin buni osonlashtirish uchun biz ertaroqdan, oldinroqdan harakat qilishimiz kerak. Ya'ni section 1 da, birinchi qismda audio sizga savollarni ko'rib chiqishga vaqt bergan payti, ya'ni birinchi savoldan 5-savolgacha, misol uchun 5-savolgacha ko'rib chiq degan payti, siz iloji boricha birinchi savoldan 10-savolgacha ko'rib chiqing. Agar vaqtingiz qolgan bo'lsa, keyingi sectionga, ikkinchi qismga o'tib, multiple choice yoki boshqa savollarni ham ko'rib chiqsangiz bo'ladi. Multiple choice ikkinchi sectionda va uchinchi sectionda ham juda ham ko'p uchraydi. Qaysi sectionda, qaysi qismda kelishidan qat'iy nazar harakat qiling, iloji boricha tezroq oldindan multiple choice savollarga yetib borishga. Aynan mana shu savol kelgan bo'lsa, oldindan savollarni o'qib chiqish va har bitta variantni bir-biridan farqini topish juda ham muhim hisoblanadi. Birinchi bo'lib savolni o'qing. Har bitta variantni A, B and C variantlarini o'qib chiqing. Bir-biridan qanday farqi bor? A variant nima haqida gapirib kelyapti, B variant nima haqida gapirib kelyapti va C variant o'zi nima haqida. Bir-biridan farqini topganingizdan keyin, har bitta savolni ko'rib chiqqaningizdan keyin audio boshlangan payti hushyorlikni yo'qotmang. Multiple choice savoli boshlangan payti, ya'ni audiosi boshlangan payti, javoblarni eshitish davomida, javoblarni eshitish paytida siz harakat qiling to'g'ri javoblarni topishga emas, noto'g'ri javoblarni topishga harakat qiling. Chunki bu bo'yicha tajribangiz ko'proq. Tak, bu javob tashlaysiz. Biraz prikol qilib ketdim. Hozir siz qo'shib qo'ying. Xullas, to'g'ri javoblardan tashqari siz noto'g'ri javoblarni topib, ularni qalamingiz bilan o'chirib ketishga harakat qiling. Chunki boya aytganimdek har bir variant aytiladi, lekin ikkitasi noto'g'ri javob sifatida aytiladi. Siz aynan o'shani bilgan paytingiz ularni o'chirib ketishingiz kerak. Chunki oldin aytib o'tganimizdek, noto'g'ri javobni o'chirish sizni to'g'ri javobga bir qadam yaqinlashtiradi. Multiple choice da bu eng kerakli narsalardan bittasi. Buni ham praktika qilib ko'ramiz. Cambridge 15 kitobi Part 2, ikkinchi qismi. Dastavval savollarni o'qib, variantlarni bir-biridan farqlab olishimiz kerak. Nima haqida gap ketyapti? Yaxshilab qarang. Minster Park. 11-savol. The park was originally established. Park dastavval tashkil qilingan, A variant, as an amenity provided by the city council. City council tomonidan taqdim qilingan bir amenity, maskan sifatida joriy qilingan, establish qilingan. B variant, as lands belonging to a private house. Ya'ni xususiy, shaxsiy uyga tegishli bo'lgan bir yer sifatida joriy qilingan, dast avval, originally. Va C variant, as a shared area set up by the local community. A variantda city councilga aloqador, to'g'ri javob. B variantda private house ga aloqador, to'g'ri javob. Va C variantda local community ga aloqador bo'lishi mumkin, aynan bizning o'sha to'g'ri javobimiz. Bu variantlarni uchalasi ham aytib o'tiladi, lekin bizga kerak bo'lgani originally established, dastavval qaysi biri bo'lgan. Buni ham eshitib topib ko'rasiz. Eshitish jarayonida distractorni sezgan paytingiz uni o'chirib keting. 12-savol. Why is there a statue of Diane Gosworth in the park? A variant, she was a resident who helped to lead a campaign. Kim bo'lgan u Diane Gosworth? Aynan shuni topishimiz kerak. Resident bo'lgan deyapti A variantimiz. B variantda she was a council member responsible for giving the public access. A variant resident bo'lsa, B variant council member. Ya'ni A variant istiqomat qiluvchi fuqaro, B variantda council a'zosi. C variant, she was a senior worker at the park for many years. Ya'ni senior ishchi bo'lgan. Mana A, B va C variantlarini uchalasini bir-biridan farqi aynan shu joylarida. Eshiting, noto'g'ri javoblarni o'chirib, to'g'ri javoblarni belgilang. 13-savol. During the First World War, the park was mainly used for. Birinchi jahon urush davomida parkni nima maqsadda ishlatishgan? A variant, exercises for troops, askarlarni mashq qildirish maqsadida. B variant, growing vegetables, sabzavotlar yetishtirish maqsadida. Va C, public meetings, jamoat majlislarini o'tkazish maqsadida. Asosiy farqlari nimadan iborat? Troops, vegetables, meetings. Asosan nima maqsadda foydalanilgan birinchi jahon urushi davomida. Listeningni eshitish paytida aynan shu joyiga hushyor bo'lishimiz kerak, diqqat qaratishimiz kerak ekan. 14-savol. When did the physical transformation of the park begin? Uni jismoniy transformatsiyasi, ya'ni o'zgarishi qachon boshlandi? Yillar berilgan: 13, 15 va 2016-yillar. Eshiting va toping.
Part 2. You will hear part of a talk to a gardening club about a local park. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
I'm very pleased to welcome this evening's guest speaker, Mark Logan, who's going to tell us about the recent transformation of Minster Park. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you. I'm sure you're all familiar with Minster Park. It's been a feature of the city for well over a century and has been the responsibility of the City Council for most of that time. What perhaps isn't so well known is the origin of the park. Unlike many public parks that started in private ownership, as the garden of a large house, for instance, Minster was some wasteland, which people living nearby started planting with flowers in 1892. It was unclear who actually owned the land, and this wasn't settled until 20 years later, when the council took possession of it. You may have noticed the statue near one of the entrances. It's of Diane Gosforth, who played a key role in the history of the park. Once the council had become the legal owner, it planned to sell the land for housing. Many local people wanted it to remain a place that everyone could go to enjoy the fresh air and natural environment. Remember, the park is in a densely populated residential area. Diane Gosforth was one of those people, and she organised petitions and demonstrations, which eventually made the council change its mind about the future of the land. Soon after this, the First World War broke out in 1914, and most of the park was dug up and planted with vegetables, which were sold locally. At one stage, the army considered taking it over for troop exercises and got as far as contacting the city council, then decided the park was too small to be of use. There were occasional public meetings during the war in an area that had been retained as grass. After the war, the park was turned back more or less to how it had been before 1914 and continued almost unchanged until recently. Plans for transforming it were drawn up at various times, most recently in 2013, though they were revised in 2015 before any work had started. The changes finally got going in 2016 and were finished on schedule last year.
Multiple choice savol turidan tashqari, xuddi shu texnikani, ya'ni oldindan savollarni ko'rib olib, variantlar o'rtasidagi farqni highlight, ya'ni belgilab chiqib, to'g'ri javoblarni topish faqatgina multiple choice savol turida emas, boshqa bir savol turida ham qo'llasangiz bo'ladi bu texnikani. Ya'ni choosing items from a list question type bor. U ham biz mashq qilayotgan materialimizda bor. Endi keyingi savol turi maps haqida gaplashamiz. Listeningda eng ko'p uchraydigan savollardan bittasi bu maps, labeling maps, xaritalarni belgilab, uni javob bilan moslashtirib chiqish. Sizga ma'lum bir joyning xaritasi yoki ma'lum bir binoni yoki ma'lum bir joyni sxemasi, plan, rejasi berilgan bo'lishi mumkin. U savol tushadigan bo'lsa, biz qanday topishimiz kerak? Boshida siz diagrammani o'rganib chiqishingiz muhim hisoblanadi. Pastda deylik, ikkinchi sectionda 16-savoldan 20 gacha yoki 15dan 20 gacha facilitylarni, binolarni ro'yxati berilgan bo'ladi. Uni ko'rib chiqishdan ham ko'ra, hozir aytganimdek, diagrammani birinchi o'rganib chiqish muhimroq hisoblanadi. Nega? Chunki pastda aytilgan binolar, savolda berilgan binolar ketma-ketlik bo'yicha aytiladi, lekin diagrammada ABC variantlar ketma-ketlik bo'yicha aytilmaydi. Diagrammani bir safar o'ng tarafidan, bir safar chap tarafidan boshlanishi mumkin. Chalg'ib ketmaslik maqsadida diagrammani 100% tushunib olgan bo'lishingiz shart. Xaritani o'rganib chiqqaningizdan keyin audio boshlangan payti siz birma-bir diagrammada xaritada berilgan harflarni to'g'ri javobni moslashtirib ketavering. Va juda ham muhim hisoblanadi, diagrammadagi harflarni ABC letters harflarni siz ishlatilganlarini yoki distraktorlarni xaritani o'zidan o'chirib ketavering. Chunki har bir ishlatilgan yoki distraktorlarni chiqarib tashlasangiz, keyingi savollarni to'g'ri javobiga siz yana yaqinlashgan hisoblanasiz. Buni ham birga mashq qilib ko'ramiz. Mana 15-savoldan 20-savolgacha bizda map labeling savol turi kelyapti. Xaritani o'rganib chiqadigan bo'lsak, xaritada 3 ta darvoza bor ekan: Westgate, Southgate va Eastgate. O'rtada Lily Ponds va eng shimoliy qismida river, ya'ni daryo berilgan. Mana shu har bir so'zni o'rganib chiqishimiz muhim, chunki to'g'ri javoblar aynan mana shu so'zlarga tayangan holda aytilardi. Ya'ni mana shu so'zlardan orientirovka olib aytiladi. Masalan, H variantini Southgate ga yaqin joyda deb aytish mumkin, yoki G variantini South Western Parts deb aytish mumkin, ya'ni janubiy g'arbiy qismda joylashgan ma'lum bir bino deb aytib o'tishi mumkin. Yoki qolganlarni ham D va E variantlarini Lily Pond ga yaqin joyda yoki qolgan variantlarni ham aynan shu berilgan so'zlardan orientirovka olib aytishi mumkin. Shu tufayli ham diagrammani, ya'ni xaritani birinchi bo'lib o'rganib chiqish muhim hisoblanadi. 15-savoldan 20-savolgacha ma'lum bir joylar aytib o'tilgan, aynan shuni xaritaga moslashtirib chiqishimiz kerak. 15-savol. Statue of Diane Gosforth. Aynan o'sha Diane Gosforthning haykali qayerda joylashgan? Buni toping. D-lik Diane Gosforthning haykali F variantda joylashgan bo'lsa, buni katta ehtimol bilan Eastern Gate yaqinida deb aytadi, yoki Southgate'dan o'ngga burilib shimol tomon keturishingizda o'ng tarafda deb aytishi mumkin. Instruksiyalarga rioya qiling. Agar miyada aynan shu instruksiyaga rioya qilish, instruksiyani orqasidan ergashish qiyin bo'layotgan bo'lsa, mashq qilish uchun qalamingizni xaritaga tekkizib olib, to'g'riga yur desa to'g'riga, o'ngga yur desa o'ngga chizib ketsangiz bo'ladi. Eshitamiz, topamiz.
You have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
OK, let me tell you about some of the changes that have been made and some things that have been retained. If you look at this map, you'll see the familiar outline of the park, with the river forming the northern boundary, and a gate in each of the other 3 walls. The statue of Diane Gosforth has been moved. It used to be close to the south gate, but it's now immediately to the north of the lily pond, almost in the centre of the park, which makes it much more visible. There's a new area of wooden sculptures, which are on the riverbank, where the path from the east gate makes a sharp bend. There are 2 areas that are particularly intended for children. The playground has been enlarged and improved, and that's between the river and the path that leads from the pond to the river. Then there's a new maze, a circular series of paths separated by low hedges. That's near the west gate. You go north from there towards the river and then turn left to reach it. There have been tennis courts in the park for many years, and they've been doubled, from 4 to 8. They're still in the southwest corner of the park, where there's a right-angle bend in the path. Something else I'd like to mention is the new fitness area. This is right next to the lily pond on the same side as the west gate. Now, as you're all gardeners, I'm sure you'll like to hear about the plants that have been chosen for the park.
That is the end of part 2.
Navbatdagi savol turi matching options deyiladi, ya'ni variantlarni savollarga moslashtirib chiqish. Bu qanday savol? Sizga ABC variantlarda bir nechta so'zlar beriladi va savollarda ham ma'lum bir so'zlar beriladi. Siz aynan o'sha savol sonini va ABC harflarini bir-biriga moslashtirib chiqishingiz kerak. Endi sizga bir savol. Savollarni oldindan ko'rib chiqish muhim deymiz. Qaysi birini birinchi ko'rib chiqqan yaxshiroq? ABC variantlarinimi yo savollarni o'zinimi? To'g'ri javob aslida eng tepada berilgan savolni birinchi ko'rib chiqish kerak. Chunki aynan o'sha savolda butun audioni konteksti, aynan nima so'ralyapti sizdan, shuni asl savoli berilgan bo'ladi. Aynan o'sha tepadagi savolni ko'rib, kontekstni tushunib olganingizdan keyin ABC variantlarini ko'rib chiqing. Va oxirida agar vaqtingiz qolsa, savollarni o'zini ko'rib chiqsangiz ham bo'ladi. Chunki savollar deylik 21-savoldan 25-savolgacha berilgan bo'lsa, ular tartib bo'yicha aytiladi. Lekin ABC variantlar audioda tartib bo'yicha aytilmaydi. Ya'ni siz audio boshlangan payti faqat A variantga qarab o'tirishingiz kerak emas. Chunki A variantga qarab A variantni kutib turgan paytingiz audio to'g'ri javobni F yoki C har xil boshqa variantlardan boshlab qolishi ham mumkin. O'shaning uchun ham qog'ozni, savollarni o'zingizdan sal uzoqroq umumiy obzor, hamma savol ko'radigan distansiyada, masofada ushlab turganingiz ma'qul bo'ladi. Yana bir narsani hisobga olishimiz kerak bu savol turida. Hozir aytganimdek, savollar ketma-ketlik bo'yicha aytiladi va ular hech qachon audioda, savol tuzuvchilar hech qachon audioda ketma-ket tavakkal javoblarni aytib o'tib ketmaydi. Har doim birinchi ishora beriladi. Misol uchun, Cambridge 15 kitobini 3-sectionida 25-savoldan 30-savolgacha aynan shu question type berilgan. Eng tepadagi savolni birinchi bo'lib o'qib olishimiz kerak. What topic do Cathy and Graham choose to illustrate with each novel? 25-savoldan 30-savolgacha hozir o'qib chiqishimiz muhimmi yoki A dan H gacha variantlarinimi? Albatta birinchi navbatda A dan H gacha, undan keyingina 25 dan 30 gacha. Asosiy diqqat e'tiborimiz variantlarda bo'lishi kerak. Dastavval 25-savolga ular audioda urg'u berib oladi. The Pickwick Papers deb aytib olgandan keyin uni to'g'ri javobini aytadi. Oliver Twist deb 26-savolni aytib o'tgandan keyingina to'g'ri javobni aytadi va Nicholas Nickleby yoki Nickleby shuni aytib o'tganidan so'nggina buni to'g'ri javobini aytib o'tadi. Ya'ni birinchi bo'lib ishora, keyin to'g'ri javob beriladi. Shu narsani ham hisobga olib qo'ying. Bu savol turida ham ishlatgan variantingizni tepadan o'chirib ketish esdan chiqmasin. Praktika qilamiz.
Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
OK, so now shall we think about a topic linked to each novel?
Yes, I've printed out a list of Dickens's novels in the order they were published, in the hope you'd agree to focus on him.
You're lucky I did agree. Let's have a look. OK, the first was The Pickwick Papers, published in 1836. It was very successful when it came out, wasn't it? And was adapted for the theatre straight away.
There's an interesting point, though, that there's a character who keeps falling asleep, and that medical condition was named after the book, Pickwickian syndrome.
Oh, so why don't we use that as the topic and include some quotations from the novel?
Right. Next is Oliver Twist.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot in the novel about poverty, but maybe something less obvious.
Well, Oliver is taught how to steal, isn't he? We could use that to illustrate the fact that very few children went to school particularly not poor children, so they learnt in other ways.
Good idea. What's next?
Maybe Nicholas Nickleby? Actually, he taught in a really cruel school, didn't he?
That's right. But there's also the company of touring actors that Nicholas joins. We could do something on theatres and other amusements of the time. We don't want only the bad things, do we?
OK.
What about Martin Chuzzlewit? He goes to the USA, doesn't he?
Yes. And Dickens himself had been there a year before and drew on his experience there in the novel.
I wonder, though, the main theme is selfishness. So we could do something on social justice? No, too general. Let's keep to your idea. I think it would work well.
He wrote Bleak House next. That's my favourite of his novels.
Yes, mine too.
Oh,
His satire of the legal system is pretty powerful.
that's true. But think about Esther, the heroine. As a child, she lives with someone she doesn't know is her aunt, who treats her very badly. Then she's very happy living with her guardian, and he puts her in charge of the household. And at the end, she gets married, and her guardian gives her and her husband a house, where, of course, they're very happy.
Yes, I like that.
What shall we take next? Little Dorrit? Old Mr. Dorrit has been in a debtor's prison for years.
So was Dickens's father, wasn't he?
That's right.
What about focusing on the part when Mr. Dorrit inherits a fortune and he starts pretending he's always been rich?
Good idea.
OK. So next we need to think about what materials we want to illustrate each issue. That's going to be quite hard.
That is the end of part 3.
Siz bilan hozir section 1, section 2 va section 3 da eng ko'p uchraydigan savollar haqida gaplashdik. Endi oxirgi qism part 4, section 4 da qanday savollar uchraydi? Eng ko'p uchraydigan savol bu note completion. Xuddi section 1 ga o'xshab. Lekin section 1 bilan section 4 dagi note completionlar o'rtasidagi farq javoblarni formatida. Chunki section 4 da oxirgi qismda section 1 ga o'xshab tushib qolgan so'zlarni yozishingiz kerak, lekin yozadigan so'zlaringiz ancha formalroq, ya'ni rasmiyroq bo'ladi. Faqatgina shu narsani hisobga olib, to'g'ri javoblarni topsangiz bo'ldi. Yana bir aytib o'tishga arzigulik ma'lumot. Listeningda tushib qolgan so'zlarni harfida ko'pchilik qiynaladi, ya'ni spelling xato ko'p qiladi. Siz iloji boricha IELTS materiallarida beriladigan to'g'ri javoblarni yodlab chiqing. Aynan ularni, harflarini, yozilishlarini yodlab chiqing. Chunki IELTS kontentida to'g'ri javoblar bir xil so'zlar ko'p takrorlanadi. Masalan, agriculture so'zi IELTS listeningda, haqiqiy imtihonda ham, Cambridge materiallarida ham, boshqa materiallarda ham juda ham ko'p to'g'ri javob sifatida keladi. Kitchen so'zi, reproduction so'zi, genetics va bunga o'xshagan ko'p formal so'zlar takrorlanib keladi. Environment so'zi juda ham ko'p takrorlanib keladi. Siz ularni yozuvini, harfini adashib ketmasligi uchun iloji boricha ko'proq qaytarishingiz kerak. Lekin faqatgina shu so'zlar bilan chegaralanib qolish kerak emas. Har doim o'zingizni so'z boyligingizni oshirishda davom eting. Hech qachon meni vocabulary'im bo'ldi, meni IELTS listeningdan 9 olishga yetdi yoki speakingdan ma'lum bir yuqori darajagacha chiqdim demang. Har doim progressdan to'xtamang. Keyingi darsda ko'rishguncha.